Hello, all of you beautiful beings out there. It is time for your weekly nutritional oracle card reading. If you're new here, welcome in. My name is Erin. This is where you can come for nutritional advice and food suggestions that are created through messages I receive from the universe and designed to help you get back in touch with your body so you can live your life based on joy and purpose. So if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back every week. If you do, or if you are able to come back every week, I'm really happy to have you here. And if you're following along with the transformational journey, leave me a comment. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how things have been meshing with your routines, and if you're getting some good information. If you have any new suggestions for new video content that you guys would like to know about, let me know, because I'm always open to new things that will help you guys out, because that's what I'm here for. All right, so if you're ready to get started on the reading, I'm ready. Let's get going here. This reading will be for the week of March 1st through March 7th, 2021. And just a little side note here, if you want to take a moment to take a few deep breaths, set an intention, get yourself, just become more aware and be present in the moment so you can hear the messages that most resonate with you today and be able to have a beautiful, beautiful reading. And just a reminder, this is a general reading, so if something doesn't sound like it's for you, it's probably not. So you don't need to worry about putting too much thought or effort or energy into that. Just leave it where it is. It is there for somebody else, and you just take what you need to take with you, and it'll all be good. Okay, so of course, let's first of all get busy with our energy here. We want to know what the overall energy of this week's going to be so we can see what we're going to be dealing with. All right. Ooh, gravity. Groundedness, gravity, number 39. I like that. So we've been talking a lot about being grounded, right? Making sure, because up here you see all the planets are up here. She's down here on Earth. We have all of the, earthly beings down here with us, the earthly souls. And in order for us, we've talked a lot about this, right? In order for us to be able to fully be in touch with our body and receive messages, to be able to use that intuition, our inner knowingness, we need to be able to have it connected to the universe. But in order for it to actually make that connection, it needs to go through the ground first and then back up to us. So having that groundedness and being aware of your body is really key in actually being able to use the guidance from the universe to your best advantage, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and get a moon energy here. Your commitment is being tested again. We get this card quite often. So I think this is probably coming up often because especially when you're dealing with food and transformational journeys, your commitment is going to be tested a lot, right? So our commitment is being tested again. Just a reminder to revisit and seek out truth. Make sure that it is an authentic reason as to why you're committing yourself to a certain outcome that you would like to see come to your life, right? What kind of transformation are you looking for? Why are you looking for that transformation? What does it mean to you what does it mean to you to bring wholeness to you? How is that going to help you get to where you need to go, right? So our commitment is being tested, and that's okay. It is not a bad thing. It is a beautiful time of making sure that we're still committed to our results. And if we need to tweak anything, now is the time to tweak things again, right? It's a new week. reevaluate, take a pause and see where you are, and if it is still headed in the right direction, if it still feels good to you. Now let's go ahead and get that spirit animal that we love so much. Okay, and we've got this beautiful butterfly spirit, number 11. Transformation is beautiful. Isn't that the truth? She is beautiful. Okay, so butterfly spirit, transformation is beautiful. She's in the protection position this week, asking us to remember that, change is going to happen often in our lives. Everything is not going to stay the same forever. And especially when we are embarking on a journey, and I know that, and I know I'm hearing a little message here. So for some of us, we are resisting the transformation, we're resisting the change because maybe we didn't actually ask for this to happen. But we're still continually being pulled to make some changes in our lives that we are not really vibing with right now. Maybe it's because we do not want to change because we're comfortable in the situation. Maybe there is some really difficult challenges that have been getting in your way, or obstacles that you have had a difficult time actually overcoming and moving through, and maybe you're just kind of at the end of your rope with these pullings and these stirrings, because maybe you just don't know exactly where it is pulling you to, and where you have been going is giving you a little bit of strife. Like it's just not meshing. Things don't feel like you thought they would feel, or it just seems like it kind of seems right, but it's not all the way there, right? So I feel like maybe I think that there are some of us that are really trying, that are just beginning. We're just starting. Things are just really coming out for us this week, and we have decided that we're going to start exploring it and see why these stirrings inside of us are happening, why we're being pulled to certain areas in our life to change them, transform them, reevaluate certain situations and environments that we're in, and it is making us very uncomfortable. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we're just not vibing with it right now because it's coming at a time in our lives where it's not a very welcome kind of feeling. There's already enough going on in our lives, and we don't want to put anything else on our plate. Okay, so that's a message for some of us that I am hearing now. And then the answer to that is exactly that. Your commitment is being tested. A time for you to pause and, ask yourself some questions and see what you need to do in order to make the changes. You don't have to do it all at once, right? It's okay. It's going to take some time. It's a journey. It's a transformation. And that does not always happen quickly. And some of us the resisting, for some of us, the resisting and of the change is what's bringing the struggle, is what is making things seem so hard. It's because we just won't surrender to it. Sometimes change is just inevitable. It's always going to happen, and you can't always resist it, okay? So that's a beautiful message of just kind of keep your chin up, reevaluate. And, this is not to be a negative thing, right? This change is just going to take you somewhere better. It really is. And resistance is futile, right? But not really. Like, you can resist all you want, but sometimes the universe, and I'm hearing this for some of you, sometimes the universe is, when change is needed, then sometimes the universe is just going to keep throwing things at you until you're like, okay, fine, enough. I'll listen for a minute and see what you have to say, and maybe take a few steps. And this is your steps, right? You're listening, you're going through and kind of seeing some things that you that are pulling you towards it, and you're exploring a little bit about the things that you have been getting inspirations from you've been getting inspirations from the universe lately. Thoughts, dreams, new feelings, and you're branching out and starting to explore. So I think for most of us out there who are new to the transformation game, that this is your kind of initiation into, hey, guess what? I'm going to keep coming at you. So you might as well sit back and enjoy the ride for a few minutes and at least hear what I have to say, okay? Universe is saying, at least just hear what I have to say. Hear me out. Let's go on a wild ride together maybe. And maybe it's not a wild ride. Maybe it's going to be cool and chill and it's going to be okay. But no matter what, you have indeed started. You have indeed started this journey, and you know, it could be a very beautiful thing, right? Transformation is beautiful. All right, that was a little long explanation. Sorry about that, but a couple messages there for some people who needed to hear it. And let's do our numerology card. It's clapping at me. 57. Teaching and learning. Yes. Exactly. It's all about learning, right? The transformation process for a lot of us right now is just about learning, not going so far even as learning what that is, or certain subjects that we need to study. It's learning just about us and how we are handling this new kind of uprising in our bodies, in our souls, in our lives, that is calling us to make some changes that are needed and necessary and have probably been laying at the surface for a while, and we've been able to kind of put those out, but no longer. So teaching and learning is mostly, to me, I'm hearing the learning portion of it. And it is, for some of it, yes. For some of us who have been on this journey for a bit, and we have already surrendered to the fact that we are indeed changing and going through a process, that the learning is going to be certain areas that we're interested in, and to find a mentor, find a group, find something that resonates with you, that you need to gather more information on so that you can continue on. And that's part of this. Your commitment is being tested, is to ask those kinds of questions so that are you ready to move forward with your new level here, with this new opportunity that may be coming to you that you want to know more about. And also the teaching part comes into play for some of us because there are a lot of us that are going to be really interested in, obviously, the spiritual kind of thing, the spiritual teachings. And it doesn't even have to be spiritual. Just being able to help others. You're ready to start sharing your gifts with those who are in need of what you have to say, the knowledge that you have, the skill set that you have been working really hard towards. And it's time for you to go ahead and branch out and start putting your feelers out there and looking to see kind of where you want to fit into the whole being a mentor, being a actual teacher, a coach, any kind of individual that is ready to offer their services, their gifts, and their knowledge to others to rise together, be together, band together, for a beautiful cause. You know, everybody's cause, everybody's thing is not going to be the same. Everybody's got their own different outlook and perspective on life, and this is a beautiful time for you to find those people who are ready for your message. and what you have to say, right? So that's beautiful. I love that. And I just want to make a little side note about this card as well, as far as the teaching goes. It's not always about academics either. This is also about life experiences that you have had or are even having, even if you're in the process of having those life experiences and exploring those now. You have the skill set in the areas that you are motivated to share with others. And that motivation is because you're meant to share that message with people who need to hear that and who will benefit greatly from where you have already been and benefit from seeing how you handle yourself in these situations as you're still going along, if you're still exploring certain changes in your life that you're propelled to share with others. So this is a beautiful, beautiful reminder to not doubt your skills, to have faith in those instances where you are called to share with other people and you think, oh, I don't have this certificate. I don't have enough experience in this. You know what? If you're being called to share something, chances, and you really feel compelled that, it's hurting you more to keep it in than it is to let it out, then there's a reason why you're having those feelings and you've got what you need. So have faith in that. And, it doesn't have to be on a huge scale. It can be in a small group. It could be to a couple of people who you trust very much or who you notice are struggling in the same areas that you are, or making the same kind of transformational changes that you are. So do not let doubt start coming into play to where it is taking away your faith in yourself and your power in being able to take your place and share your gifts and your knowledge. Okay, so I love that. What a great reminder of having faith in ourselves. Okay, so let's go ahead and use this. Let's look at the botanical world. Humility. Okay, dandelion and humility. All right, humility is being called for right now. We're just being called to remember to, be humbling in your offerings. Don't get on a soapbox. Don't overestimate the value. Like, make sure that you have enough value in yourself, right? But don't look at it at a perspective as you're not appreciated, or come into it at a mindset of nobody's going to listen to you or what have you. You need to be humble in the way of making sure that you are bringing to life the importance of the situation or the information that you have to offer others in a way that doesn't undermine who they are, what the message is, and that you're kind, that you're loving and compassionate with your message, right? We don't want to bombard people and make them feel like they're not doing it right and you have all the answers. And this is just a reminder, I think for most of us out there, that is not what we're intending. This is just a call to be mindful that sometimes when we are speaking to things that we're very passionate about, it can come across in a way that is not always helpful to other people and doesn't necessarily, and it seems more preachy and more like we're trying to tell people they're not doing it right and they're doing it wrong and that they're not good enough themselves, when in fact that's not what we're trying to do at all. So this is just a call for us to remember that humility, remember that you are doing this for the highest good of all, that you do have something to offer other people, but we want to make sure that we are speaking it in a way that others can appreciate, feel good about, and really want to embark upon their own areas where they want to learn, teach, or share messages as well, right? All right, and then of course we cannot have a weekly nutritional oracle card reading without our sacred self-care card, because that would just it just wouldn't be right. Make a meal. And we've got this one before too. And we talked last week, I believe, about getting in the kitchen and exploring new things, trying new things, not to be afraid to get in the kitchen. And we need to make a meal, okay? And making a meal is more than just feeding yourself. It feeds your mind. It feeds your soul. It can bring you joy. You can infuse an emotion into your dish that you are preparing, whether it's for yourself or for others, for a big group or a little group, your family or new people. The power of being able to take that food and that is sitting there in its raw state and being able to put it together into this beautiful, lovely dish that you have created with love and care and blessed with hopes of just bringing together who you're with, offering a place and a meal where people can be comforted, have a good time, eat some good food, and let their bodies be nourished from this beautiful meal that you have prepared and offered to them is such a gift. It's such a gift. Even if it doesn't turn out perfectly, your love and care that you put into that, your time and energy, and the effort that you go to in order to make this beautiful food into something that is, completely transformed itself by your hands into something that will bring others joy and happiness and love is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So never put, and make sure you put plenty of emphasis and remember that food is a powerful avenue to be able to bring people together. And I think a lot of us know that already, but this is for those of us who are a little trepidatious about being in the kitchen and are not really sure what we're doing. I'm hearing this message for you is to don't worry about it being perfect. The effort that you're putting into it is enough, and trying something new is enough. And you will always get better with the more practice. The more meals you create, the more practice you have, the better you'll become. And you will be surprised how quickly, this is a primitive, primal kind of thing, preparing food, right? I think it's very instinctual. And even though some people think that they're just not talented in the kitchen, I don't think it's a matter of not being talented at all. I think it's solely a matter of we just haven't had the opportunity to express ourselves. This is an expression of who we are, an extension of what's inside of us that comes out and creates a beautiful gift to others. So do not underestimate the power of a good meal. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing there. Now, I know this was kind of a long reading this time, so I apologize about that, but there are some pretty strong messages this week, but lovely messages nonetheless. And now we're going to go ahead and get started on our nutrition portion of the video. As far as nutrition is concerned for this week, I think that I should say that this gravity card, because I really put it in as grounding, which it is grounding, but it is more to do with gravity. So rather than just a grounding, it is a pulling in. It's a unity, right? And with that, and also with the teaching and learning and card that we got, that makes me think of the crown chakra. So as far as nutrition goes for this week, I'm really going to look at, yes, I have some food suggestions for you, but mostly I think it's going to be very important that you get enough sleep. Number one, I know a lot of people have a very hard time sleeping. So it's going to be really important that you try to make a healthy routine as far as your sleep is concerned. So turning off those phones and all of those electronics at least an hour before you go to bed, if not even sooner. If you can do that, is going to be very beneficial. Making sure that you haven't eaten a big, huge, heavy meal right before you go to bed, so your body is still working really hard when you go to bed, you know. You want to make sure that you have already given it time to do some digestion, so that because it's still going to be working and regenerating and doing all the things it does when it sleeps. That it needs to do, but it is helpful if it's not happening to go through a whole bunch of the digestive process before it actually gets to the other things it needs to do while you're sleeping. So there's lots of different steps you can take for some good sleep. Have a cup of tea, make a routine that makes sense for you, that works for you, that's very relaxing. Maybe do some gentle stretches. Don't do anything real active right before you go to bed. If caffeine is a stimulant for you, you know, obviously you're not going to want to drink a whole bunch of caffeine right before you go to bed. So those sorts of things. Now, another thing that's going to be really important is to be able to get in the sunlight if possible. I know in the States it's winter here, and I live in the Pacific Northwest, so it's not real sunlighty 99% of the time around here. Well, maybe not 99% of the time, but sometimes it feels like it. Anyways, get out in the sunlight, get some fresh air. And also it's going to be important when we're talking about the crown chakra too, to take into consideration the health of your central nervous system. And going outside, getting fresh air, getting some sunlight, walking around in bare feet, if you can, even outside, is very good for your central nervous system as well. Now, that's going to be like the main thing. Also, what I'm going to say is, even throughout the day, I talked about not eating a big meal right before you go to bed, but also I think it's going to be a good idea to be mindful when you're eating and really be aware. Now, we've talked a lot about digestion. We've talked a lot about how to be mindful when you're eating, practices that you can do to make you get that parasympathetic state going, so that you're able to digest your food the best way possible. And it would be a great idea to put those practices into use this week and see how you can fit those into your routine, because it's going to be important to not overindulge a lot and always have a heaviness to you. So if you can't, eat what you need to eat to be nutritionally sound and to feed your body and to make you feel good mentally as well. But try not to overindulge in it to the point to where you're just stuffed, or you've overeaten, or you're lethargic, you're bloated, you're gassy. Try to avoid getting to that point if at all possible. And sometimes that can take some practice, because we don't even notice if we're not paying attention to when we eat, thus using those digestive resources that we are going to do before we eat to put us in that parasympathetic mode, right? So that's the number one nutrition goal that I have for this week. And along with that, along with the crown chakra, it's also associated with the pituitary gland, okay? And the pituitary gland, that's your master gland. It does a lot of the heavy lifting in your endocrine system. The hypothalamus, of course, is its boss, but nonetheless, the pituitary gland also does a lot of heavy lifting as far as hormones are concerned, and making sure that the right hormones go to the right place and get secreted at the right time. All right. Now, it's a super deep dive, so we're not going to go way into it. Obviously, we'll be here for a very long time. But if that's piquing your interest, then I would encourage you to do your research on that and find out more about it, because it is very interesting and you can learn a lot about it. And I do love the science geeky stuff. So if you're like me, then I would go ahead and do a Google search, or whatever kind of search you want to do on the internet there. So anyways, for the pituitary gland, it would be a good idea to eat foods that are rich like in vitamin D and vitamin E. So vitamin D, mushrooms, broccoli, sunflower seeds, salmon, eggs, ground beef, apples. Also vitamin E. So the vitamin E is going to be like your almonds, spinach, peanut and peanut butter, and kiwi. I just want to make a little note about the peanuts and the peanut butter. Peanuts have a tendency to be really moldy and can be a very bad trigger for a lot of people as far as allergies go and histamines go and things of that nature. So if you are one of those people, obviously the peanut and the peanut butter is not going to be for you. So just be mindful of that. And if you've never noticed that the peanuts make you feel a certain way, kind of off, then maybe leave those out of your diet. I also want to mention that vitamin D and vitamin E are fat-soluble vitamins, and essentially what that means is they need fats to be able to be absorbed properly and do their job the right way, to be bioavailable for you. So we've talked a lot about good fats, so I'm not going to go into detail about that. And a lot of the foods that you eat, like the nuts and the seeds and the meats and things like that, will have an adequate amount of fat with them, so you won't have to really worry about it. However, if you're supplementing, you're going to want to make sure that you have good healthy fats in your body in order for those vitamins to be utilized properly for you, and make sure you're staying away from those really shitty trans fats and things like that, right? We don't want to have those in our body, and they're certainly not going to do the vitamins any kind of good. Okay, now, and I did mention the central nervous system, and a good way to keep that in good working order is to get some B vitamins, and B12 will be really beneficial for you to have, and you can get those in like your ground beef, your eggs, those kinds of things, okay? And that shouldn't be a problem. I think most people eat those, and if you don't eat those, or if you're vegetarian or something like that, just search up B12 vitamins, foods rich in B12 vitamins, and look at that, and that will help you out. Okay, so one final thing that I wanted to say before we go is I had this message come through, and I didn't want to stop and interrupt myself when I was talking about the gravity portion of the card and pulling together. I'm hearing that for some of us, the Make a Meal card is going to be really connected to this gravity card. It's a pulling together, and also with the teaching and the learning. So I think that what is trying to be conveyed to me here in this message is that either somebody's trying to start a business to some degree, or teach in some manner these cooking, making meals, cooking, being in the kitchen. It doesn't necessarily have to be just about cooking, but it has something to do with pulling people together, making a community, or like a quality time kind of thing, but like showing people how to use the time in the kitchen to be a time of getting together, of having quality time together, learning together, things like that. So for those of you who are looking at doing that, keep looking at that and think if that's really what you want to do, because that seems to be favorable, and that it is a really great idea. And that's the message. And for me, outside of that message, I think that's a wonderful idea too. That does make sense. Like, food does pull people together. So for those of you who are looking at a cooking or a meal service, or some kind of cooking lessons, getting people in the kitchen and teaching them, and also bringing it in so it's like a family thing or a community thing, super duper good idea, and go for that if it makes sense to you, all right? So anyway, that's all I have today. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me again. And of course, I have to send you off with a big hug full of healing and loving energy. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the bell if you want to, and give me a like. If you liked what you saw today, that would be super helpful and super appreciated. And I'll see you guys Wednesday for our midweek check-in. All right, bye for now.
you.